How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 1IQ Sports Talk YouTube channel. Brendan and Sterling coming at you for week 4 predictions in the NFL. We are recording this a little bit earlier in the week, so we're actually going to be able to give you a Thursday game prediction.
Mhm.
And that game is going to be between two NFC West divisional opponents, the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals, where the Seahawks are minus 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, this should be a good game. That NFC West right now is just it's stacked up at the top there. You know, one team at 3-0 and all three other teams sitting at 2-1. And so even the loser here won't be getting knocked too far down, which will be nice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this Cardinals team for me this year, I've said it multiple times. I get different vibes off of them. Like they're just poised to take that next step. And a big part of that's going to start with their divisional play. And so they've got to come out and bounce back from last week because I believe they lost to the 49ers, which is not a great look for losing to a beat up 49ers team, but they were just outcoached. You know, that's not necessarily going to be an issue this week because you and I have discussed that we're not super impressed by Seattle's coaching staff. I think the Cardinals managed to pull out a win here against the Seahawks. You know, the Seahawks are a little bit banged up, and the the Cardinals, they're starting to click. They had that big loss of James Conner last week, done for the season, but Trey Benson has been an excellent number two in that 1-2 punch. He now becomes just a solid number one, and we're all going to get to see what he can do as the number one. And I think we're going to see great things out of him, which will just elevate this offense even further. I think the Cardinals win this game.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more on the opposite side of this because when it comes to the Cardinals, obviously they had a really close game against that beat up 49ers team. They struggled to beat the Panthers and the Saints earlier in this year, where
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those things where I'm looking at it going like, man, like you guys aren't really you haven't proven to me that you can beat a caliber team. And if they would have beaten the 49ers last week, I would have maybe felt a little bit similar to you in this aspect, going like, okay, yeah, it was a beat up 49ers team, but I actually think the coaching is holding this Cardinals team back because they're still not finding ways to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball, which is insane for me to think about. Which that could be a Kyler Murray issue, that could be whoever their offensive coordinator that issue is. It could just be Marvin Harrison Jr. issue, but that dude has so much talent that you're not able to find him the ball is it's shocking to me. And
Mhm.
when it comes to the Seahawks, Jackson Smith and Jigba has been phenomenal this year. Kenneth Walker has had a couple of decent weeks so far this year. And I look at the teams that Seattle has beaten. Seattle beat the Steelers in relatively easy fashion, I would say. And then they looked at whatever the Saints were and they said, oh, so this is just the skid mark that we're just going to have to drive over. And when you watch the Cardinals play the Saints, that game was a lot closer. And so I look at both of these two teams with how relatively close they have played the same team this year. One team dominated while the other just snuck past. And so I'm going to go with the team that managed to just or the team that managed to at least have a couple of dominating wins in the Seahawks going, and I think the Seahawks will win this one. Next up is our first game on Sunday morning, where the Pittsburgh Steelers go to Ireland to take on the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings are minus 2.5 point favorites, Sterling.
Yeah, this is a difficult one for me to pick because the logical part of me looks at it and goes, Minnesota's just going to outcoach Pittsburgh at this point, on both sides of the ball. And so I look at it and I go, the Vikings are probably going to win, but for me, I can't pick against my team right now. Like they're just that defense looked great last week. Finally, they finally got it rolling. I think 5 fumbles they created with several recoveries. Unfortunately, the offense was not able to convert on a lot of that. Even so, the Steelers still are converting a lot of those turnovers into points, even though they weren't able to last week. So that is sort of the hope this week is maybe they can just create some chaos. And I think it's going to be a big defensive battle, big turnover battle. I don't expect it to be very high scoring between these teams, despite the high powered offense capabilities of guys like Justin Jefferson and Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm gonna pick the Steelers to win though, just because of the fan bias. Really, is what it comes down to. If this was more lopsided and I was like they're gonna get blown out, I would be picking against them. But it's gonna be so close. Which defense can win the game? And I'm gonna lean to my team's side on this one.
Yeah, this was a really, really tough one for me to pick because, yes, the Steelers' defense looked improved last week, but they also did that against an offense that I've been saying for
Mhm.
the entirety of the offseason has
Oh yeah.
been one of the worst constructed offenses I've seen in the NFL. And Mike Vrabel hiring a defensive minded head coach is not going to come in and fix that when you don't have receivers. You have one running back that you really didn't utilize until the fourth quarter. And that's about it. And it's not like the offensive line for the Patriots is all that good. I just look at this and go, this defense is going to be a lot more tested because, again, Carson Wentz is likely going to be the starting quarterback again this week.
Mhm.
Steelers defense is going to have to go up against Justin Jefferson. I'm pretty sure Jordan Addison is officially going to be back for this game as well. So you're going to get that first big test of going like, hey, you have to deal with both of these guys. TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, I'm pretty sure is still going and or no, he's hurt, but Mason was excellent last week. So I'm also going with the Steelers in this one just because I don't trust Carson Wentz, even though like everything in this game is screaming at me to choose the Vikings. This is going to be one of those ones where I feel like I'm going to flip flop back on until the actual morning of and the game pick happens, or this gets locked in, for instance. But
Mhm.
for right now, I'm choosing the Steelers, but I'm not confident in it, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. That's exactly how I feel too. And yeah, that defense coming up last week, it was more just I know it was a bad offense, but it was what they needed. They needed that
Exactly. It's like the Bears offense when they faced off against the Cowboys defense. They needed
yeah,
that
exactly.
confidence boost. Next game up here is we have the Washington Commanders taking on the Atlanta Falcons, where the Commanders are 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, the Commanders last week, Marcus Mariota stepped in and got it done as I was kind of expecting, honestly. And I said it to our buddy who's a Commanders fan. I said this could be the best case scenario where Mariota comes in, he performs well, and Jaden Daniels is able to see the things that he's doing and then replicate it with the more youthful legs. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is back yet this week. I haven't checked on that to see, but either way, I mean, the Falcons, we don't know what the hell is going on there. One week they look really, really good, and then the next week they just get demolished by the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
They lost 30 to nothing last week to the Panthers.
it
That
makes no sense.
alone makes me not want to pick them this week. That I can't. After that performance, like what is going on? You can't get beat by not only a division rival, but one of the worst teams in football over the last decade. You got blown out by. So I'm picking the Commanders in this one because it. I know that they've got some concerns right now. Terry McLaurin had an injury scare last week in that game. The Eckler's out. They're having troubles at running back now. It's turning into a typical Washington mess for the Commanders, but I still have more faith in them to be able to pull a win out against this Atlanta team that one week will compete with the Bucks and then the next week will just lay down for the Panthers. So yeah, Commanders win.
Yeah, I'm picking the Commanders to win. I'm picking them to cover this 1.5 point spread.
Yeah.
I read a stat this week that says when Michael Penix, now granted, Michael Penix, this will be his sixth or seventh start in the NFL. So it like he isn't exactly a experienced quarterback in the NFL, but when teams have scored 7 points or more, you heard me right, 7 points or more. Michael Penix is 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically if the Falcons defense holds a team with under 7 points, the Falcons and Michael Penix will win. But the second that a touchdown goes up on the board, they can't do anything. And the other thing that I saw against that game last week against the Panthers is if you just looked at the box score of that game without the final score, you would go, the Panthers got dominated. Like they got dog walked. And then you just look at the score and go, how?
Wait.
How?
Yeah.
And I said this last year when the Falcons drafted Michael Penix. I said that was going to be a massive mistake. They benched Penix in that game. Now, do I think it's actually a bench, or is it just one of those things that it's just like, hey, like we're just going to have to sit you down? Who knows? But it's not a good look. And so I do think the Commanders, they have a myriad of issues, whether Mariota or Jaden Daniels is playing. I think this team is just going to be competent enough just to sail by through this team this week.
Yeah, and I mean that Falcons team, they drop another bad one like that, and we got to start having a conversation of should you just play your $130 million quarterback that you signed instead?
Yeah. Which, who would have thought we'd be sitting back going like, a team is paying a quarterback $180 million to sit on their bench.
Yeah. And
Next,
they're not named Cleveland Browns.
no. Next up on our list is the New Orleans Saints take on the Buffalo Bills, where the Buffalo Bills are minus, get this, 15.5 point favorites.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. The Bills might see their first loss this week if they're maybe they just don't show up. No, this is such a pointless game. Why even risk guys getting injured playing this game? The Bills are going to win this game. That spread is tough though, just because I know it's a large spread. I know the Bills can score a lot of points, but with a game like this, do you get up by 10 or 12 and just go, okay, it's the Saints. Let's just throw out some second stringers. Let's let Josh Allen not get himself wrapped up in a leg twisted or something. Just let Mitchell Trubisky do this, and he'll throw a pick six and bring the Saints back into it. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
it's
this is
hard to
just
take such a large spread like that. So the Bills are definitely winning this game. I see no way they lose to the Saints. And if they do, then that something crazy happened if
yeah.
they manage to lose this game.
This is one of those perfect trap games of where it's like the spread is so high, but
Yeah.
This is a Bills team where I look at Josh Allen and the quarterback and just go, he's going to basically sit his team down and basically just be the head coach in this instance and be like, listen, we are locked in more this week than we have been for any other weeks that we've had, because we are supposed to dominate this team. And if we don't dominate this team, then everyone's just going to look at us and be like, what the hell? And it's just going to be this constant narrative for the next few weeks that we're going to have to talk about. So let's go out there and dominate. And I honestly think they will cover that 15-point spread. Again, the Seahawks with virtually no offense, or an offense that I don't trust, put up 44 against the Saints team. The Bills are an offense I do trust a little bit more. They should not have a problem with this one. I think once you get to like halftime, it'll be like 30-0.
Yeah.
And you'll see the backups start to come in during the second half. This is a college game. This is Alabama taking on San Jose State. Like that's what this is.
Oh, 100%. It's that second half and the garbage points where I have trouble taking that 15.5 point spread. I think the Saints in the second half, in that garbage time with the backups in there, somehow managed to score some points and cover that spread.
Yeah, fair. We'll see. The Cleveland Browns take on the Detroit Lions, where the Detroit Lions are minus 9.5 point favorites.
Yeah, it's the Packers how that went.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. The Cleveland Browns look like they're, poised to continue their domination through the NFC North and go, we may be the worst team in the AFC North, but we're gonna, embarrass some of these NFC North teams. That was wild last week. It was so crazy the Browns winning that an investigation was actually launched into whether or not there was any game fixing going on because there was something like over $1 million bet on the Packers money line for that game. And it was very suspicious when the Browns managed to win. The Lions, on the other hand, they handled business on Monday night against the Ravens,
boy, did they ever.
after, getting beat up by those Packers in week one and then absolutely stomping the Bears in week two. Everybody's like, yeah, but it's the Bears, so we don't know if this is for real or not. They came out week three against this Ravens team and they went, yeah, hold my beer. This is for real. We can still put up 35 points even without Ben Johnson. And they did. And they made it look believable. It wasn't like luck and fluking out and just bad bounces. It was
They made it
dominant
look
play.
conventional.
And it was just basic dominant play. They got after the quarterback. They sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times, as well as forcing yet another fumble out of Derrick Henry. That's one every week for Derrick this year. I think the Browns, they're going to give this offense a really hard time. The Browns have such a good defense, and they get after the quarterback. So Goff will be running for his life a little bit. It's not going to be as pretty. It's going to be a little sloppier. But I don't think the Browns are going to be able to upset another offensive powerhouse, an even greater offensive powerhouse in the Lions, like they did the Packers last week. That it just won't happen. I think the Lions win this game. Um, Hopefully, they're able to win it with everybody healthy though, because this Browns team is physical and violent on defense, and so this is where you run a risk of somebody picking up a busted collarbone or something just on a rough hit.
Yeah, I look at the game last week against the Browns. I've said this about the Green Bay offense. Like they have pieces and they have games of where they can look really really good, but that's just it. I don't think they're a dominating offense. I don't think they have the elite talent. Like even Matthew Golden hasn't looked great throughout this first season. And now, granted, it's just been 3 weeks, so it's hard to really know. But when you draft a guy in the first round to be your essentially franchise wide receiver, and it's been the first 3 games so far where he's looked fairly pedestrian, that's more of a talking point. But yeah, I think the Browns. I think it's safe to say at this point the Browns probably have the best defense in the NFL right now. Like they are like they're just playing at a different level. And this is one of those teams where we said the defense was going to keep this team in a lot of games. It's essentially the
Mhm.
Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cleveland Browns are essentially just a Timo version of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, where it's the defense is the best in the league, but they don't have the pieces on offense. And to be honest with you, I think it's they just don't have a quarterback on offense that is fully clicked with them because they're using Joe Flacco, who is essentially 1 foot in the grave at this point. But I think the Lions, we're going to see them be a little bit better this week, and I do think they're going to win. But I think this is going to be a close matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, the Browns defense keeps them in games. So the Browns will cover this spread, but the Lions will win.
So next game up here on our list is the Carolina Panthers taking on the New England Patriots, where the Patriots are minus 5.5 point favorites.
Yeah, I got to see this Patriots team last week, and so I saw a lot of the bright spots that are coming to be on this team, and they don't look that bad, if I'm being totally honest. Like this is a well coached team right now. Prior to last week, they were leading the league in sacks. They weren't able to get one last week, which definitely hindered that. But I think they get right back to that this week against Bryce Young and that Panthers team, who I think are going to come in a little bit big headed after beating the Falcons 30-0 and think that they're hot shit. I think this Patriots team is going to knock them back down to earth because the Patriots are better than what I think a lot of people expected them to be this year. They're really only missing a few of those offensive pieces now. And if, you know, they can start using Travion Henderson for more than just the fourth quarter, look out because this team will be good. There were a lot of question marks last week. Like, why are you still rolling with guys like Antonio Gibson and Ramondre Stevenson when the Steelers have gotten 4 fumbles already this game?
Yeah,
And then they add another one late, and it's like, come on. So if they can use Travion Henderson a little bit more, um,
that'll be big.
it's it this team will just get better and better. But yeah, the Patriots are going to win this game, and I think they cover that spread as well. I don't see the Panthers being able to put up a 30 spot multiple weeks in a row, and I think that Patriots are capable of putting up 25 to 30 on this Panthers defense.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fairly low scoring affair. I think one team. I think the Panthers might be able to get a touchdown in this game, maybe a field goal to add to that. But I think the Patriots. I struggle with that offense, man. Like I've said it before. Like I say it often. I struggle with defensive minded head coaches with young quarterbacks that have very little on offense. It's just like, man, like all you're doing is setting this guy up to fail. And Drake May has so much talent, he has so much ability, and you kind of didn't do much for him in the offseason. Sure, in the first round, you drafted Will Campbell, offensive tackle. That was a great move. Second round, you drafted Travion Henderson. Well, now you need to start using Travion Henderson. Like it's a needed. Sure, you brought in Stephon Diggs, but let's be honest here. Stephon Diggs isn't a young man. He's coming off an injury, and frankly, his head is very much in a different place. So, while I think the Panthers offense, okay, this is the Panthers. Like I can't see them doing fucking anything. But while I think the Patriots offense is suspect, I think that Panthers team is just bad. And so I have to pick the Patriots to win this just because I just don't trust anything that this Panthers team does, especially with Bryce Young at quarterback. So I'm picking the Patriots to win and cover that spread. Chargers taking on the Giants, where the Chargers are -6.5 point favorites. First ever start for Mr. Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Yeah, Russell Wilson's been benched now, which makes sense, fucking 3 plays of end goal, and not a single person was able to touch the ball because they threw them through the back of the end zone each time.
Yep.
That's bad quarterback play right there. Let's get Jackson Dart in there. I mean, I don't care either way who the quarterback is. I'd like to see Jameis Winston because that'd be fun, I think. But either way, this Giants team has been fun to watch between insane catches from Malik Neighbors and watching Cam Scatabo rush the ball and even just block. Sometimes watching him block is hilarious. Like, he is a fun player to watch. Chargers are good though, man. Between Quentin Johnston finding his hands this year, you got Lab McConkey, you got Keenan Allen. They lost Najee Harris, but that didn't seem to phase Justin Herbert even during the play where he just hops over him and is like, oh, well, man down. This is going to be great for Omari and Hampton. He's now the sole man in the backfield, and he is going to go off. This Chargers team, they're just going to keep getting better. I don't think the Chiefs are catching them this year for that division. And Chargers are going to win this game and cover that spread.
Yeah, I know I kind of shocked people when I made that prediction that I have the Chargers winning this one over the Chiefs, who should get the benefit of the doubt. But like there was reasons, man. There was reasons. Like I trust in Harbaugh. I trust in what that staff is doing. And while I think Jackson Dart is going to add a spark to this offense this week, it is not going to be enough to get anything done against this team. Him and Cam Scatabo, again, I wanted Scatabo on the Bears. I wanted him badly. I knew what this guy was going to be. He's going to be a fun back for a lot of years.
Yeah,
4 years.
I don't know about a lot of years.
4 years. I'll give him 4 years, but he's such a fun back. But this Chargers team, man, again, Quentin Johnston doing great things with his hands. Like someone needs to investigate him for putting sticky stuff on his hands during football games. But
Either that or betting on games in the past seasons.
that as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Keenan Allen is having a nice little revival, and I have a little bit something on that as well. So make sure to tune into that when I talk about my pairs, or when we talk about the Jags. It'll make sense in a moment when we finally do that. But yeah, it's not like Lad McConkey has been stellar this year so far. Like he is still
No.
trying to find his feet, and once he finally gets that underneath him, like this offense is going to be unstoppable.
Hmm.
And this is while they are missing Rashawn Slater, their all pro left tackle. And like I said, I wasn't really worried about the offensive line because I still have Joe Alt. But yeah, Giants aren't going to win this game. Chargers are going to cover the spread. Next game up here on our list is what I'm going to call the game of the week, where we have the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Eagles are minus 3.5 point favorites.
Yeah, I was gonna say nobody made the Bucks the favorites in that game. Not a chance. Yeah, this is definitely game of the week. This will be the game I'm watching in the 11 o'clock window for sure, with my Steelers playing early morning. Man, we thought the Eagles were cooked last week. The Rams had them on the ropes, and then it was like fourth quarter rolled around, and they went, "Oh right, we're playing football," and they made it look easy. This is the concern we had with the Eagles is those first couple weeks we were like, man, this team just they don't look like they're clicking on all cylinders, like they're getting it done. But when they find that, they're going to be dangerous. And they found it for one quarter last week. That was all they needed to absolutely demolish the Rams, which is wild because the Rams, to me, are one of the best teams in the NFC right now. This doesn't bode well for the Bucks, because Baker Mayfield has been willing this team to win. Baker's dealing with some bicep tightness in his throwing arm this week as well, so he hasn't practiced up to this point, which is concerning. I'm sure he'll play. He's one of those tough guys who's going to play through something like that. No Mike Evans this week though, dealing with some ankle injuries. Chris Godwin is close from what I hear, but he won't be back this week. He's finally participating. So it really is going to be a banged up Baker Mayfield with Emeka Egbuka and Bucky Irving. Cade Otton has been a ghost this year, which is
Invisible.
disappointing because I sort of picked him to be a breakout player this year. I thought he was going to be hot like I thought Trey McBride last year. It just not working out. I think the Eagles just have too much, and the Bucks finally pick up their first loss this year in this one. It's going to be a fun game. I think it'll be close because the Eagles, they seem to like playing these close games. They don't try to run the score up or anything. They get ahead and they hand it off to Saquon, or they let Jalen Hurts just run the ball for 3 yards. It'll be boring once the Eagles get up, but it's gonna be a good game watching these two because Baker won't let them stay up for long. Even with a hurt arm, he's gonna be slinging it and he's gonna find ways to force the Eagles to win this game. But the Eagles will win. What'd you say that spread was?
It is 3.5.
I think the Eagles cover that spread. It's going to be a little bit wider than a field goal, and that's Baker's going to have to try to win it with his arm, and I just don't know if it's going to hold up by the end of the game.
Yeah, I initially had the Bucks winning this game. I sat back and I went, you know what? There's so much with this Bucks team that is just like Baker Mayfield's playing at an MVP level again this season.
Yep.
I have a ton of faith in what this dude is going to be able to do. And the Eagles have just been such a roller coaster of where they struggle against Dallas. They have a good week in week number 2 against who did they face week number 2? Doesn't really matter. Oh no, the Chiefs. They have a close game
Yeah.
against the Chiefs, and then they survive the Rams essentially, where they have to, or no, they rebound against the Rams in the fourth quarter, like what you're saying. Like there's just something that's telling me that the Bucks are gonna win this game because it's gonna be one of those things where it's like the Eagles just haven't gotten their shit together.
Mhm.
But like you brought up so many good points that Mike Evans is likely going to be out. Chris Godwin's not going to be there. Cade Otton has been a ghost. Bucky Irving hasn't been the same back that we saw him from last year. Emeka Ibuka has been unreal,
Yeah.
unreal. I loved him on my fantasy team like that. I knew dude was going to be money, but yeah, unfortunately, I do think the Eagles are gonna win this game, and I've been really entertained with watching the Bucks this year, and it's just such a fun team, man. I'm
Yeah.
rooting for them in the NFC, except when they face my Bears. But yeah, like I gotta agree. I do think the Eagles are just gonna. It's gonna be an annoying game at the end for sure. Next game up on our list is the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans, where the Texans are minus 7.5 points. And this is what I am going to be calling the toilet bowl game of the week. This game
100%.
should be flexed to 4 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been seeing that everywhere on the internet. It should be flexed to 4 a.m. on a Tuesday
Yeah,
because
yes.
this is going to be bad. On the bright side, one of these teams gets to win a game finally. Maybe. Watch it end up being a tie. When
It's,
that just that would absolutely define what both these teams are right now because they are both bad. They both have bright spots. That bright spot being their quarterback. Cam Ward has not looked bad. And
I'm not making that for Cam Ward.
oh really? I thought you're always the CJ Stroud homer, so I figured you'd be more on CJ Stroud's side for that one. It's his O line. I still put all this fault on his O line. You have no
Hmm.
time to read, react, do anything. It's you can't even trust this O line to give you a 3-step drop.
Yeah.
It is absolutely horrendous. This is going to be a terrible game to watch. It's either going to be a 6-3 final or it's going to be some ridiculous like 41-37 because they both just snap the ball and just heave it and pray and it works. There's no in between. It's going to be so bad. I'm not going to watch any moment of this game, and I think the Titans win.
You think the Titans win?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't think the Texans are going to be able to score any points. The defense is great. Don't get me wrong. That Texans defense is number 2 to only
The
the
Browns.
Browns at this point.
Yeah.
But Cam Ward has been really good at getting the ball out fast. And CJ Stroud has been really bad at getting the ball out fast. And I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the difference maker is just that reaction time and that ability to move the ball with no time to throw. I think they're just going to be able to do it a little bit better and it's going to be one of these time of possession games where it's slow and it's running the ball and the clock's just chewing away. It's going to be boring and we're going to see maybe one touchdown if we're lucky, I think.
Yeah, I hate everything about this game. The Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL for a very good reason. Now they have a lot of excitement with Cam Ward, and I've liked what I've seen from Cam Ward thus far in his early stages of this season. But they have nothing. They have nothing. The Texans have arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have a handful of really good weapons. It's just they don't have an O line. And so all we need to see is CJ Stroud just quickly get the ball out of his hands to Nico Collins and let him work or get it out to one of his other playmakers. And I think we could see them be a little bit more methodical. Now, I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think this is going to be a fairly low scoring affair just because I just don't trust this Texans team to do anything. But I trust them to be able to get a win against the Titans. Now, if this Titans team wins this game, then we're talking about the Texans being on number one pick watch. Like that's the kind of conversation we're gonna have, and we're gonna be talking about C.J. Stroud. Is he the guy? Watch, because Joe Burrow went to a Super Bowl with arguably a similar O line. So like to me, like that's the conversation we need to have, is when you don't have an offensive line, if you are expected to be a franchise defining quarterback, you know what I mean? Like Joe Burrow went
No,
to
I
a Super Bowl. Why,
yeah.
like, if CJ Stroud is supposed to be this guy after that excellent rookie season, we haven't really seen it, and that's why I kind of have that little bit of like the type thing for the
Mhm.
Texans. It's like, yes, your O line is horrible. That's not your fault, and that's definitely going to bring you down. But we've
Yeah.
seen guys work with bad O lines. Jaden Daniels,
Oh yeah.
for an example, last year went to the NFC Championship game with that offensive line. I'm not saying that was as bad as an offensive line as what we've seen with the Texans, but still, it wasn't great.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, this is one of those games I'm going to flip-flop back and forth on just because both teams are so bad. It's
It's
which team's going to be
laughable.
worse?
Yeah, it's insanely laughable with how bad this game is going to be, and I am happy as all hell I do not have to watch it.
Yeah.
But I am picking the Texans to win this game just because I just don't trust the Titans enough at this point.
Yeah.
Um, the Indianapolis Colts go to Los Angeles to take on the Rams, where the Rams are -3.5 point favorites.
Yeah, I don't think that spread's big enough. You know those clips you see when a fan watches their team lose badly and they're playing on Madden and they run the score up to like 230 to nothing? I feel like that's going to be the Rams coming into this game. After losing late to the Eagles, they're going to be coming in pissed. And I think they're looking at this 3-0 Colts team going, "You guys think you're doing something? No.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna knock Danny Dimes, back down to earth." I think the Rams absolutely demolish the Colts this week.
Belt to ass is kind of what I look at this. And I've been waiting for that moment for the Colts to kind of come back down to earth.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily thinking this is that game of where they completely come back down to earth. I think this is the start of that.
Yeah, I mean
And
you're still
I
gonna be
think
3-1.
yeah, I think you're still kind of in that same boat as me. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think this Rams team, they're gonna be playing a little bit pissed off after not being 3-1. This should be 2-3-1 or 3-0 teams at this point in the year. And the Rams, I think they're going to come out pissed off and angry. Puka Nacua looks back to what he was like as a rookie receiver, and he's just firing on all cylinders. Sean McVay is doing Sean McVay things again, just having offense work the best it possibly can. I think the Rams win this game, and I think Jared Verse looks at Danny Dimes and says, "Listen here, Bucko. Like like I said it, belt to ass.
Mhm.
Rams cover, Rams win." 49ers take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, where the 49ers are -3.5 points.
Man, that Niners roster gets thinner and thinner every single week. They are now down their lead edge rusher for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Bosa's out. He's done. That's a big hit for this defense. That was really the last remaining true bright spot. It's been defense by committee, and now that's really all it's going to be able to be. I don't know how this 49ers team has gotten to 3-0. I don't know what sort of voodoo magic Christian McCaffrey learned while he was in Germany last year, that he is just siphoning the life force from all of his teammates, just sacrificing them one at a time each week. He's going to run out of teammates eventually to be able to do that. Honestly, I'm picking the Jags to win this. The Jags have been slowly improving, finding their footing. And like I said, the 49ers, it's like one of them's getting shot each week and just slowly depleting that roster. I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to sustain this. I think we start to see them fall off. I think the Jags get a big win this week, which will be a huge confidence boost for them,
I agree with you on pretty much everything
except the outcome.
except the outcome, because I don't trust Trevor Lawrence, man. This dude cannot hit open receivers. Like, his accuracy, man, is just so bad. And the Jags, they're not winning games in spectacular fashion. Like, this is just one of those teams where I just continue to look at and go, oh, excuse me. I just continue to look at this team and go, this has been their schedule that they've had to play so far.
Mm-hmm.
They faced off against the Panthers in week 1, where they won 26-10. Again, you're supposed to win that game. You lose to the Bengals 31-27, where Joe Burrow leaves halfway through that, and then you beat up on the Texans 17-10. And one of the other things that I was kind of alluding to is there's one certain coach that the Jacksonville Jaguars have on their team that is essentially a wide receiver killer. Shane Waldron, when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, had Jackson Smith and Jigba. And DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. He leaves, Shane Waldron leaves, all of those guys immediately start to get vastly better. Last year, Shane Waldron had Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. Both he leaves, Rome Odunze now leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns, and Keenan Allen having a revival as a 33-year-old. It's like, okay. And goes to the Jags this year. Brian Thomas Jr., one of the most exciting rookies that we've seen from the wide receiver standpoint since probably Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua. Brian, where are you? Brian? Bueller? Completely invisible. And I do think the 49ers are eventually going to come back down to earth. I think they're getting Brock Purdy back this week. I think they're going to eke out another one of those just close-fought battles, and they're just going to sneak by in this one. I just don't trust Liam Cohen. I just don't trust Trevor Lawrence, and I just don't trust that Jags team.
Yeah.
Next up on our list is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, where the Baltimore Ravens are -2.5-point favorites.
Yeah. Man, both these teams are looking at 1-3.
Yep.
And one of them's going to hit it.
Yep.
This is going to be a good game. This for me was like a runner-up for game of the week. And that's just because the Chiefs aren't as good as the Bucks or the Eagles, in my opinion. And so it's really just the willpower of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes trying to keep this team relevant right now. If Derrick Henry can stop fumbling the ball, the Ravens are one of the best teams in the league. But thus far, those fumbles have led to them losing 2 games. It's been a significant contributor, unfortunately. He's got to protect the ball better. That being said, there's too much talent on this Baltimore team compared to Kansas City. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to hang with the Ravens. But it's Patrick Mahomes, and he seems to get it done against those good teams. The Bills, the Bengals sometimes, the Ravens always. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win, but I'm probably going to regret it.
Yeah, this is one of those games where the Chiefs have just looked so bad this year, man. Like, when we talk about them being a 1-2 team, like, this is a team that is deserving of that 1-2 record. And frankly, the fact that they faced off against the Giants and they didn't even necessarily look that great in that game against the Giants, to me is a big thing where I'm just like, you need to do better. And I think this team, they're struggling early just because they've had a lack of weapons out there. Again, having your first round pick last year, Xavier Worthy, go down in game number 1, having Rashee Rice be suspended for the first 6 games, and then essentially just saying to Hollywood Brown, please be a number 1 receiver, when he can never be that. Like, he wasn't that with Baltimore, he wasn't that with Arizona, and he's not going to be that with the Chiefs. I think this team is going to get it going closer to the back half of the year. But I think this Ravens team is just going to be way, way too much. And this is a Ravens team that is probably playing with a little bit of shell shock after that Lions game, going like, man, like, we need to be better. Like, we went, like, sure, we can understand the game against the Bills. That was an unbelievable type game. It, like, those games happen. If you come out on the losing side of it, you just kind of got to look at that and go, man, like, that's the team that we got to compete against. You beat up against the Browns, which is what you should have done. I think this is one of those things where they say, as the Baltimore Ravens, we need to face some of our own demons and beat up on this Chiefs team. And I think they're going to ultimately get that done this week.
Yeah, they really do need to do that, though, because if they suffer another choke loss, because really they were in the driver's seat against the Lions as well, and then
Yep.
they it's what they did last year. We talked about it at length. They stop running the ball with Derrick Henry, and then when they go back to him in the second half, he fumbles it. They gotta smarten up, because another choke loss, and that becomes the identity of this team if they blow this against the Chiefs.
Next up on our list is my Chicago Bears going to Vegas to take on the Raiders, where this game I have seen the ratings of who's going to win the over or who's going to win changed now 4 times, and it is the Raiders favored by -1.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, your Bears seemed to get things rolling finally last week, which I'm sure was good to see. Can they continue that? That's the big question. The Raiders are the Raiders. I don't know. This is... That O-line is still so bad. Hopefully they can make that Bears D-line look better, because that really is still the only sort of spot, even with how they performed last week. I don't know. This was a hard one to pick. It's which team is going to trip over their own shoelaces first. And I think it'll be the Raiders. And so I do think the Bears are going to go into Vegas and manage to pull out another win. I think it'll be ugly. I think it'll be close. But it doesn't matter, because Bears aren't the favorites. So they're going to cover that spread, obviously, if they win.
Yeah, this was a tough game for me to look at, because on one hand you have the Bears defense, who for the first 2 weeks didn't look great. And last week they started to come alive against that Cowboys offense. Now the Cowboys offense did lose CD Lamb in the first half, so that was a big one. They did allow Javonte Williams to have a little bit of a running day, but other than that, they were solid. They got 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery, so they took the ball away. And they didn't have Jalen Johnson out there. They still didn't have Kyler Gordon. They didn't have TJ Edwards. And they went up against that offense and were fairly productive. And then the Bears offense, it was obviously Ben Johnson going into his first bag of tricks for the Bears and going, we're going to hit the flea flicker against Matt Eberflus. Again, I made this joke. Matt Eberflus really hates playing against Ben Johnson, because you have the fumble Ruski play last year, which probably got Matt Eberflus fired. And then you have the flea flicker play, which you're already hearing Dallas Cowboys fans asking for the head of Matt Eberflus to be fired. So I look at that and I just go, okay, Caleb Williams, he's looking better and better each and every single week. The Raiders defense, they have one player. They have Max Crosby. If you can contain Max Crosby, which is not an easy feat, mind you, you will win this game. Because I don't think the Raiders offense is going to have enough. That offensive line is so bad. Like, bad offensive lines make bad defensive lines look good. And the Bears have a bad defensive line. Now, Javon Dexter, in terms of all 32, I know PFF rated 50 pass rushers, the top 50 pass rushers in terms of pressure rates. Javon Dexter, the defensive tackle, is 15th in the NFL. Yeah. So you have pressure up the middle. The biggest thing that I'm concerned about from the Raiders offense is Brock Bowers. But other than that, I think Trey Tucker is kind of more of like your splash in the pan type player. But yeah, I'm picking the Bears to win this game. I think Ben Johnson has started to feel more confident with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is starting to feel more confident. Romo Dunze is looking like the number 1 receiver in Chicago, and I don't think that's really much of a question at this point. If Luther Burden continues to get plays, there's just too many playmakers on this Bears team that I think basically the lack of talent on this Raiders offense and defense is going to be their biggest downfall. So I'm picking my Bears to win, which I kind of feel sick saying. Like, it kind of makes me want to vomit because
Yeah.
I know by me saying this, the Bears offense is going to look terrible and the Raiders are just like Ashton Genty's going to have 250 yards and all of this. And yeah, so
Yeah, well, the battle I'm looking at here is you mentioned it, the one player on defense that the Raiders have, Max Crosby. I feel like last week, Caleb Williams had a little bit of a better time because there really wasn't
he
true
got
talent edge
sacked
rushing
0
from
times.
Dallas. Hmm?
For the first time in his professional career and going all the way back since 2023 for college, this was the first time that he had a 0 sack game.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean. That Dallas doesn't really have any edge rushing presence.
No.
And so it gave him that ability. That's the concern this game is, will Max Crosby get after him, or can that O-line contain him enough to let Caleb Williams operate?
Yes.
That will be what decides this game, I think, is those two guys, that Caleb Williams versus Max Crosby.
Our Sunday night football game of the week is where we have the Green Bay Packers going into Dallas to absolutely butt fuck the Cowboys, where the Packers are minus 6.5 point favorites.
Yeah. This is strange for me because both of these teams, usually I'd see both these teams and go, Sunday Night Football, I probably won't watch it because I hate both these teams so much. But Jerry Jones mishandled the Micah Parsons contract so badly, I kind of want to see Micah Parsons hit Dak Prescott a few times. I think that'll be really fun. And Dak Prescott doesn't have CeeDee Lamb to throw to. CeeDee's out for, I think, 3 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
This is going to be interesting because the Packers have got to be coming in embarrassed, losing to the Browns. Like, you lost to the Browns. You better bounce back against the Cowboys, or a lot of people are going to be looking at you going, oh, never mind. The Packers were the Saints of last year where they looked really good in the first 2 weeks and now they're just shit. So you can't drop this game to the Cowboys if you're the Packers. And it's the fucking Cowboys, man. I hate them. I hate the Packers. I'm going to watch this game just because I want to see both these quarterbacks get hit. That's what I'm going to be watching for. It's like, there's a big sack. All right. I have something to cheer for. That's about it. But I think the Packers win this game. I think they cover that spread because how are the Cowboys going to score points? What, Deron Bland going to get himself a pick six?
Yeah.
Devontae Williams might rush for a touchdown, maybe 2 if they're lucky. That's it. How else are they going to score?
I'll tell you this. I will not be watching this game for 3 main reasons. The Packers are playing, the Cowboys are playing, and it's the Sunday Night Football crew. And I can't stand listening to that crew. Even if it is football, I love football. I can't listen to those guys. There's going to be some point in that game where Chris Collinsworth starts deep-throating Patrick Mahomes. It was unbearable to listen to last week when Patrick Mahomes was actually on the broadcast. But
right? Oh.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys, they allowed the Bears to do what they did against them. While I don't think the Packers have as many playmakers or as good of an offense or an offensive play caller as the Bears, they're going to dog wash this team. It's going to be like Jerry Jones might genuinely have a heart attack in his booth watching his Dallas Cowboys get beat up. Micah Parsons, he's going to have like 5 sacks in this game, man. Like, it is going to be horrific for the Cowboys. And I'm in favor of the Cowboys having a horrific loss put against them. But I just don't want to see the Packers succeed. So I'm not going to watch it. I can't. I can't stomach that. And so, yeah, I won't be watching it. But Cowboys are going to win. They're going to cover that spread. Monday Night Football, we have another doubleheader where the New York Jets take on the Miami Dolphins. And this should also be flexed to 4 a.m. on a Tuesday morning.
Both these Monday Nighters, it's the doubleheader duty bowl. It's just terrible, both of these games.
We really have 3 garbage bowl games of the week.
And 2 of them are on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the first time it's going to be Monday Night Football. I'm going to be at work and I'm going to go, Yeah, I'm not going to spend any of my data on this. I'm not even going to bother. Like, just bad, man.
Bad.
The Dolphins, they look like they were finally getting at least some semblance going last week up against the Bills on Thursday Night Football. They've had that extra time to rest now between Thursday and Monday, but Tua still looks bad. It's not good. The Jets aren't any better. The Jets arguably have better youthful talent than what the Dolphins have. The Dolphins are kind of aging. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, who aren't young guys anymore. It, I don't know, man. It's the Jets are the Jets. They'll find a way to lose. I think the Dolphins finally get a win to preserve McDaniel's job for maybe a couple more weeks. I think for both these teams, it's they both got to be looking at the offseason already, going, how do we fix this? Because both these teams do not look good right now. I think both should be sellers in the next coming weeks. But the Dolphins will win this Monday Night Football matchup, get themselves a win, and that's about it.
I don't know who to pick in this game because I have on our little app that we use to make our picks. I currently have it on the Dolphins, but I don't feel good about that. And it's simply for the reason of, well, the Jets have been competitive in games this year. They have not looked as bad as that 0-3 record has stated that they are. While the Dolphins, they've been getting slowly better. There's
Mm-hmm.
still a dumpster fire that's, burning, and it's I don't know, man. Like that, I Tua, you can't have it. You can't have him as your starting QB anymore,
No.
and he just makes too many bad decisions. He throws the ball inaccurately. People are starting to bring up now. It's like people need to remember that Tua is throwing with his non-dominant hand because his dad forced him to be a lefty, and it's
Yep.
like he's already so brain damaged to this point, so he's struggling with that, and he's throwing with his non-dominant hand. Like, we're paying this guy $200 million. Like, what are we doing? um I don't know, man. This is, I think, gonna be one of the first times in a very long time that we've actually been predicting the outcomes of winners of games, where I just sit back and I go, I don't know, I can't make a pick yet. I can't. I have it on the Dolphins right now, but I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about switching it over to the Jets. This is gonna be like a Monday afternoon. You and I are both gonna be at work and gonna go, make your pick yet? I'll go, I don't know.
Right? I mean, off the top of your head, is Tyrod Taylor still starting? Is Justin Fields back from concussion protocol?
Uh,
That is the only thing that could convince me to maybe shift my pick to the Jets because they're not. Yeah, great. They're hanging in games, but it feels like it's desperation. It's pity. That week one, that was a very emotional game for both sides. That played a big part in the way that went, I think. Since then, I feel like the Jets have just been getting worse week by week.
yes.
Whereas the Dolphins have, like I said, been improving. They had that game on Thursday night against the Bills. They had a chance to win that. They could have won. But you have Tua Tagovailoa as your quarterback. Like, at what point do we talk about benching him for whether it be Quinn Ewers or I'm
Whoever their
forgetting.
backup is, yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Because I don't
remember.
think it's
It's
Skylar Thompson. I
no,
think,
no,
yeah,
because
he's in
Skylar Thompson
Pittsburgh.
was with the Steelers in preseason. It's the former Jets quarterback, the other Wilson,
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Yeah, like do you go to Zach Wilson? Do you go to Quinn Ewers? Do you try to trade for Jameis Winston? Like at some point, you've got to end this Tua experiment because he's had too many head injuries. His accuracy's not there. His accuracy wasn't great to begin with, as you said. He's a right-handed guy throwing left-handed because Daddy said so.
Cincinnati Bengals are taking on the Denver Broncos, where the Denver Broncos are at home and -7.5 point favorites.
Bengals got embarrassed by the Vikings last week. Embarrassed to the point where when Wednesday rolled around and they hadn't made a trade or any other quarterback in the league. Name a quarterback, a third stringer. Name somebody who's not even on a team. Like, I get it. Jake Browning's been in this system for so long, and he's looked good in the past, and maybe the chemistry just isn't there yet. I don't care. Joe Burrow's out for 3 months. Is Jake Browning going to win you a Super Bowl? If not, then you either need to tank it or you need to trade for somebody who could, because you've got the best wide receiver in the game. I don't know, man. This Bengals team just Broncos are going to win this game, and I think they're going to cover that spread because it's going to be another double-digit loss for the Bengals.
Yeah, the Broncos haven't looked good this year, man. But
No,
this is their get right game. This is the game that I think gets Zach Taylor fired. Because again, Zach Taylor has been a coach that has just kind of survived in this league due to him having the worst overall record and then being gifted probably the best quarterback of my generation.
Yep.
In terms of being a prospect. And yeah, you and I have talked about it in last week's podcast. Go back and watch that one. We both think Joe Burrow should request a trade at the end of this season and just say, listen, I've tried, I'm done. But yeah, I think this is the Broncos get right game. If they still continue to struggle, then Bo Nix ain't the guy, and maybe it's time to move on from Sean Payton because, okay, that talk, I'm going to stop myself right there. That talk is way too early to start, but it's one of those things where you're just like, damn, man, like you have a defense that was considered to be a top 5. Your offense looked like it got better. What are we doing? But so, yeah. But
yeah, man. I mean, what can you say? That this Bengals team right now is going to be the get right game
for a
every
lot of
opponent they
teams.
have over the next 5-6 weeks.
Yep. But that is it for week 4 game predictions. For Sterling, I'm Brendan saying thank you all very much for watching. Peace.